Ultraman Rising Review. Ultraman has been the superhero of many childhoods, and his story is not over yet. See what adventures Ultraman sets out in the latest animated action movie called Ultraman Rising, directed by Shannon Tindle on June 14, 2024. This new addition to the franchise shows the story of a conflicted baseball player who must find balance in his role as the reigning Ultraman. Ultraman has been saving the day for more than 20 years, making all the tough choices to maintain balance. This is the reason why little Kenji thinks he's the coolest superhero ever. His parents, Professor Sato and Amiko, are also aware of his obsession and play along with it, often teaching him what Ultraman truly stands for. One night, his dad asks young Kenji who he'd be if he had to choose from being Ultraman or his favorite baseball player, Matsui. But their wholesome evening is interrupted as duty calls for Kenji's father, as Gigantron has attacked the city. To save his family and others, Sato leaves his house, promising Kenji to return before his 7-inning stretch. He turns into Ultraman and faces Gigatron. 20 years have passed. Kenji is now known as Ken Sato, the most popular and beloved baseball player. He plays for the Giants and has now returned to Japan with a resentment towards his father and yearning for Amiko, who's now dead. At a press conference, when a journalist named Ami Wakita questions her about his reason for returning to Japan, he treats her politely, but leaves the event when she urges him to comment on his mother's death. As soon as he steps out, his virtual assistant, Mina, informs him that Noronga monster is attacking Akihabara. That's when the coach of the Giants, Shimura, approaches him, showing how unimpressed he is by Ken's stardom. Shimura doesn't like Ken's attitude, but he couldn't care less, because he also stopped believing in Giants a long time ago. Even though Ken has taken over as Ultraman now, he struggles with defeating the monsters and causes a lot of damage to the city while fighting. It's the Kaiju Defense Force that intervene, captivating the monster and ordering Ultraman to leave the premises immediately. He gets stressed and Nita warns him that this will lead to a color change, which means he'll lose his powers and return to human form soon. His father watches him on live TV, hoping he'll do something, only to be disappointed. Ken backs out even though he knows that he's needed, because he doesn't enjoy the idea of helping out his father as Ultraman here in Japan. After getting a reminder from Mina, Ken heads to his interview with Ami. She brings up the fact that Ken moved to LA with his mother as a child because his father wasn't really present. Their interview was interrupted by Ami's adorable daughter, Chiho, who's also an Ultraman fan and immediately draws Ken's attention because she reminds him of his childhood. Meanwhile, the leader of the Kaiju Defense Force, Dr. Onda, promises to solve the Kaiju monster problem once and for all. Tired of the backlash and pressure of being the new Ultraman, Ken watches the video messages Amiko recorded for him, wondering if she's still out there. Ken is winning a game, making his father proud when Gigatron invades the city. It takes down some planes and is called a pod when Ken transforms into Ultraman and fights it. The KDF fires missiles at Gigatron and Ultraman, who watches the Kaiju die trying to protect the pod. He discovers that Gigatron's egg was in the pod. It hatches into his hands and reveals a baby Gigatron that he plays with under KDF's nose. Even Mina has never seen an infant Kaiju before, but understands that it perceives Ultraman to be its mother. The infant starts destructively crying when Ken turns into a human. They put it in a containment unit because it's huge. But Dr. Onda already knows that the egg has hatched and begins his search for the infant. After falling out with Sato, Ken distracts himself by bonding with the infant and feeding it fish. Raising the infant takes a toll on Ken's baseball season, which gives him a mental breakdown. We called Ami to seek advice on how to multitask. Her words leave a positive impact on Ken, who nurtures his relationship with the infant by teaching it to play baseball. Ken meets up with Ami one night and they get into a deep, meaningful conversation, oblivious to the fact that the infant has learned to breathe fire now and is wreaking havoc back at home. Ken has to leave Ami when Baby steps out into the city, attacking KDF's drones. The whole fiasco ends up in the baby getting injured, which Sato fixes later. Meanwhile, Onda stays determined to revenge his family's death that Gigatron caused. He has Gigatron alive, but sedated in his custody, and hopes that Baby will lead him to Kaiju Island, where he'll kill all the monsters. Ken and Sato join forces to raise and train the infant, who they name Emmy, which also matures Ken and improves his sportsmanship. Now that Ken has healed his relationship with Sato and unlocked the secret to find balance while being being Ultraman, he hopes that things will get better. But they face a sudden attack by the KDF, which results in Sato being badly injured and Emi entering a vulnerable pupil stage right before Ultraman destroys all drones and takes Emi away. Ken is now MIA while Onda's tracking Emi and completing Project Surrogate with the Gigantron. Sato is still unresponsive when KDF attacks them, bringing out an altered Ultra Gigatron that calls out to a now evolved Emi. Ken attempts to turn into Ultraman, but is blasted before he can succeed. A while later, he wakes up to realize that he lost both his dad and Mina. The only thing left for Ultraman to do is to retrieve Emi from the KDF. He realizes that Gigantron is actually a Metatronic device operated by Onda to manipulate Emi to lead them to Kaiju Island. After knocking down the Mecha Gigantron, Ken doesn't kill it because of Emi's insistence. This leads him to be thrown into the ocean, only to be saved by his dad in Ultraman form. Together they fight Onda, which results Ultra Dad sacrificing him to save everyone else. Kenji's life is very different in the aftermath of his battle with Onda. He won his first championship with humility, earning good graces from both Shimura and Ami. What everyone doesn't know is that his dad, Gigantron, and Emi are still alive and accompany him to Kaiju Island. Ultraman celebrates the unbreakable bond of family and subtly comments on the sensitive balance between nature and nurture. It also shows how shouldering responsibility becomes seamless when you're summoned by your loved ones. All these themes are explored through Kenji's relationship with the people in his life, whether it's Emi, his dad, or even Ami. This movie perfectly incorporates typical Ultraman action through classic movies and battles with a contemporary animation design that's bound to draw in both old and younger audiences. The most notable relationship is undeniably between Kenji and Emi, but the character of Mina also does a brilliant job of being the protagonist's makeshift mother despite being a boss. This film is well-rounded as it plays with both music and visual to give the most impactful experience to the audiences. The VFX team deserves special mention because they've got it down to the very last detail. Whether it's the orbs in the children's eye or the grandeur of modern Japanese cities and their infrastructure, this film uses the most appealing and vibrant color palette to offer a visual feast to the people. The movie is a Netflix original. They brought in big names like Diplo for the soundtrack, with music being provided by Scott Stafford. The soundtrack consists of thematic tracks for key moments in the story, such as the prologue by Gigantron and Arenga. They have also used a song called Blue Fart by 10 Feet for a montage scene to show Kenji's evolution throughout the movie. This movie was released worldwide via Netflix and performed really well with mass audiences as it garnered a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, an 82% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and an 8 out of 10 rating on IMDb. The critics have also given mostly positive reviews because the technical quality is just impeccable as a sentimental conveyance of the film. To bring it to an end, we'd highly recommend this movie as a must-watch, perfect for playing during your kids' sleepover or a family movie night. Anyone who loves the animation and visual of the Spider-Verse franchise will also admire the look and feel of Ultraman Rising. Although the content is appropriate for kids, it's still advisable for parents to supervise, as the movie contains some themes of loss, but gives a happy ending that will not make the kids cheer, but the adult weep too. And that's it. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel to watch the latest and exclusive movie review. If you have any requests, thoughts, or recommendations for movie reviews, just drop them in the comment section below, and we'll see you in the next one.